Brooke Massengale. I'm going to be doing an additional submission video on irrigating a colostomy. So I am going to make sure that I have everything that I need. So I've already got my patient already has a wafer in place here. And then they would have their bag on, clip on. I make sure that I have my solution bag. So I would fill my solution bag with irrigation fluid, and I want to make sure that I'm doing about 500 to 1,000 milliliters of warm tap water for that. And then I've got my cone at the end, and I will, before I irrigate, I'm going to take the patient's colostomy bag off and empty it into a bedpan or into the toilet, whatever my agency policy is for that, or measure it if necessary. So I've got my bedpan over here. I just empty it in my bedpan. Excuse me. And then I'm going to take my irrigation bag. I'm going to make sure that if the patient is able and they want to, I can set them up on the toilet and irrigate over the toilet. But if not, I've got my irrigation bag that I can hook up, and I can put a bedpan close by. So I've got my irrigation bag, and I'm putting the end of it into that bedpan. And then I'll take my cone and I will place it in the colostomy. Obviously I don't want to push too hard, but then I'm going to make sure that my solution is about 45 centimeters or 18 inches above the stoma. So I'm going to irrigate the colostomy, try to get a bowel movement into my bedpan. And then once that is all completely irrigated, I can be done with this. And then I can remove my irrigation bag. And at this point, I will be removing my old wafer completely. And this is when I'm going to check my stoma site. I am going to make sure that I'm noting any kind of redness, drainage, anything like that, and recording it. And then once that's done, I can clean around it. I can take a warm washcloth, I can clean around that, and then I can move forward with measuring it and applying a new wafer and bag. So when measuring it, I don't want to touch the patient with it. So I'm going to look. I don't want it to be too big. I want there to be some space around the stoma, but I don't want it to be too tight around it, and I don't want it to be too big. So this one looks like about 32 millimeters or 1¼ inches. So I would then take a new wafer and I would place it, and I would take and measure from my measuring chart and take a pen, draw around, and then I would cut appropriately, cut that size out, and then I can take and kind of stretch it a little bit, kind of do one of these things to make it a little smoother. You don't want the edges so jagged. Okay. And then I would replace this over the stoma. There is an adhesive on the back, but if necessary, I can use another type of apply-on skin adhesive if it's not adhering to the skin. I want to make sure there's not really any bumps or anything, so I want to make sure I'm smoothing it over. making sure it's properly sized for the patient. And then I'm going to obtain my bag, and I'm going to place this. Just snaps right on, not pushing too hard on my patient. And I want to make sure that one of these clips is on here, or else my feces is just going to drain right out of the bag. It's going to make a big mess. So I want to make sure that my clip is on properly. Okay, good and tight. And then I want to make sure that my bag, when placed, is pointed toward the feet of the patient, so that way it is draining properly. If I were to be irrigating them on the toilet, I would irrigate, and then I would bring them back and measure my wafer, cut it, reapply, and reapply my bag. And then I would put on clean procedure gloves, which I obviously forgot to do. So I put on clean procedure gloves before doing all of this, and then when I'm all done, I'm going to place the patient back in a comfortable position. I'm going to take off my procedure gloves, perform hand hygiene, place the patient at the lowest level, and their call light within reach, and I'm going to dispose of the contents of my bedpan per agency policy.